Nairobi hustle has been around for a while, since the 70s and the 80s, when they purely relied on instinct and not technology like today. When this police reservist will pass any street, he knew something was off. Either a robbery is being committed or the robber himself was planning to. Same with the robbers, they could smell the police a mile away. This is the story of Anwari, a name that once ruled Nairobi's underworld, a gangster who robbed banks and outran the law. But in the shadows, waiting for him, was a man even deadlier. And in the 70s, no one understood this better than Anwari. He wasn't just any other criminal. He was the most feared gangster in Nairobi. His name whispered in fear and respect. His playground, the banks. His enemy, a man unlike any other, Patrick Shaw. A policeman, not quite. Shaw didn't wear a uniform. He was a hunter, and once he set his eyes on you, there was no escape. Shauri Moyo in the 80s was a city within a city, a place of tight-knit families, struggling businesses, and restless young men trying to make a name for themselves. Among them was Namwari, born into hardship, raised by a single mother who sold vegetables in Gikomba to feed him and his 6 young siblings. He started small, pickpocketing, snatching handbags, but Anwari wasn't interested in petty crime. No, he wanted real power. By the time he was 17, he had graduated to bigger jobs, robbing warehouses, hijacking delivery trucks, bribing the right people. Nairobi's underworld took notice, and before long, he wasn't just another kid on the street, he was a gangster on the rise. While Anwari was craving his name in the streets, another man was building his own legacy, Patrick Shaw. But he wasn't your typical cop, no uniform, no badge. He worked in the shadows. By day, he was an administrator at Starehe Boys Center, a respected man who ensured discipline and excellence among his students. But he was something else entirely. Shaw had a different kind of justice. He didn't believe in trials, didn't waste time with courtrooms. If he marked you as a criminal, you had 2 options: leave Nairobi or face the bullet. And when he heard about Anwari, he knew one thing: he had to put him down. The first time Shaw heard Anwari's name, it was whispered by a police informant. This one is different, they told him. He's not just stealing, he's planning. He thinks like a general. And for sure, that meant only one thing: Anwari was a threat. Anwari wasn't just roaming banks, he was perfecting an art. His heists were implemented with precision. No reckless shootings, no unnecessary violence, just speed, efficiency, and fear. People said he could clear a bank in under 5 minutes. The police were always too slow, too confused, but Shaw was different. He was watching, waiting. Then came the night everything changed. Shaw had enough information to track Anwari, and instead of chasing him, he did something unexpected. He walked straight to Anwari's mother's house. Mama Halima was so shocked to see him. She knew why he was there, because she had warned her son so many times. His mother, Mama Halima, was a warrior in her own right. A single mother, a street vendor, a woman who fought daily to keep her son away from the streets. But in Nairobi, the streets always fights back. Tell your son to leave Nairobi. Go back to the village. Start a new life. Here he's fair. If I see him again, I will not be so kind. Please, he's just a boy. Give him another chance. But Shaw had already made up his mind. He turned, lit a cigarette, and disappeared into the night. For a moment, Anwari's mother hesitated. She knew what Shaw's warning meant. He never gave a second chance, but when she told her son, Anwari just laughed. Sure, anataka nifanye nini? Nihame. He doesn't own Nairobi. That laughter was the beginning of the end. What Anwari didn't know was that this was no warning. This was a countdown. Anwari had one last heist planned, the biggest one yet, a bank in downtown Nairobi. But what he didn't know was that Shaw was already waiting. The job was supposed to be clean. Get in, get out. Anwari moved fast, grabbing the cash, keeping his team in check. But then, something felt off. The room was too quiet, and that's when he saw him. Shaw, standing at the entrance, gun drawn. It's over. For the first time in his life, Anwari was on the ground bleeding. You should have taken the bus, Anwari. But fate had other plans. As the police stormed the bank, chaos erupted, and in the confusion, Anwari disappeared. Some say a bribe opened the right doors. Others say he was smuggled out in an ambulance, but by sunrise, Anwari was gone. And just like that, Nairobi's most fierce gangster disappeared. No trial, no second chances. He was in the wind with a single bullet on his body. Some say he fled the country, others that he walks among us, an old man watching the city he once ruled. The streets never forget, but sometimes you have to let them. But in Nairobi streets, the lesson was clear. No matter how high you rise, there is always someone waiting to bring you down. Have an escape plan. Some men disappear, some outlive their legends, but in Nairobi, the hustle never dies.